The war had been going on for 3 years. 3 long years of fighting, dying, and losing friends. Commander Nate Collins had seen too much death. He had watched good people die in the cold darkness of space. He had sent letters to families back on Earth, telling them their sons and daughters would never come home. Today was supposed to be a simple patrol mission. The Earth Coalition ship Resolute was moving along the border between human space and Vexery territory. Nothing special. Nothing unusual. But then they found the damaged shuttle drifting in the asteroid field. "Sir, we have one life sign on board," said Danny Park, the young communications officer. His voice was calm, but Nate could hear the tension underneath. "It's Vexery." Nate stood up from his chair and walked closer to the main screen. The shuttle was small, barely bigger than a transport pod. Burn marks covered its hull. Someone had been shooting at it. "Bring it in," Nate ordered. Lieutenant Commander Grace Miller turned to look at him. She was a tall woman with short brown hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Are you sure about this? Could be a trap. One life sign. Damaged shuttle. If it's a trap, it's a very bad one." Nate shook his head. "Bring it in. I want a security team in the landing bay." 20 minutes later, Nate walked into the landing bay with Grace beside him. 6 armed soldiers stood in a half circle around the shuttle. The door had been forced open. Inside, they found her. She was young. Nate could tell that much even though he was still learning to read Vexery faces. The Vexery looked somewhat like humans, but with 4 arms instead of 2 and skin that glowed with soft light. Their emotions showed through their skin color. Right now, this one was glowing pale blue. Blue meant fear. She had been injured. Purple blood stained her uniform, and there was a deep cut on her shoulder. When she saw the humans, she tried to stand up, but her legs gave out. She fell back against the wall of the shuttle, breathing hard. "Easy," Nate said, holding up his hands to show he meant no harm. "We're not going to hurt you." The Vexery's translator device crackled. When she spoke, her voice came through in flat, mechanical English. "You are human. Earth Coalition." "That's right. I'm Commander Nate Collins. This is my ship, the Resolute. What happened to you?" She did not answer. Her large black eyes moved from face to face, looking at each human like she was waiting for something terrible to happen. "Get a medical team down here," Nate said to one of the soldiers. "She needs treatment for that wound." "Sir," Grace said quietly. "She's an enemy combatant. Protocol says we secure her first, then provide medical care. Protocol can wait." "She's bleeding." The medical team arrived quickly. Dr. Amy Walsh, a small woman with gray hair and gentle hands, knelt beside the Vexery and began examining her wound. The alien flinched at the touch, but did not pull away. "This is deep," Amy said. "I can fix it, but I need to take her to the medical bay." "Do it," Nate said. They moved the Vexery to a stretcher and carried her through the ship. Nate followed, watching as crew members stopped to stare. Most of them had never seen a living Vexery up close. They had only seen them through targeting screens or in propaganda videos. The videos always showed the Vexery as monsters, killers, enemies of all humanity. This one just looked scared and hurt. In the medical bay, Amy cleaned the wound and began stitching it closed. The Vexery lay still on the table, her glowing skin shifting from blue to a sickly yellow. Nate had read enough about their species to know that yellow meant confusion. She did not understand what was happening. "What's your name?" Nate asked her. The question seemed to surprise her. "You want to know my name? It helps with conversation." She was quiet for a moment. "I am Tira, sensor technician, 3rd class. Dominion Patrol Vessel Striker." "What happened to your ship, Tira?" "Pirates," she said. "They attacked us in the asteroid field. Our ship was destroyed. I am the only one who made it to a shuttle." Her voice was flat, like she was reporting facts that did not matter. 23 crew members, all dead. I watched them die. Nate felt something twist in his chest. He knew that feeling. He had watched his own people die too. "I'm sorry," he said. Tira looked at him with those large black eyes. "Why are you sorry? They were your enemies. They were people. They had families, friends, dreams for the future. Being on the other side of a war doesn't make their deaths meaningless." The yellow glow in her skin flickered. She did not seem to know what to say. Amy finished her work and stepped back. "She'll be fine. The wound will heal in a few days. She needs rest and food." "Make sure she gets both," Nate said. He turned to Grace. "I want her moved to a secure room. Not a cell. A room. With a bed and a window." Grace raised an eyebrow. "A window? She's a prisoner. She's a survivor. There's a difference." They gave Tira a small room near the medical bay. It had a bed, a desk, and a window that looked out at the stars. 2 guards stood outside the door, but Nate ordered them to stay out of sight. He did not want Tira to feel like she was in a cage. The next morning, he came to see her. She was sitting on the bed, staring out the window. Her skin was a soft green now, which Nate thought might mean she was calm. Or maybe just tired. "Did you sleep?" he asked. "A little. I kept waking up. I thought..." She stopped herself. "You thought what?" "I thought I would wake up and find that this was a dream. That I was still in the shuttle, drifting in space, waiting to die." Nate sat down in the chair by the desk. "This isn't a dream. You're safe here. Safe." She said the word like it was foreign to her. "The Dominion told us what humans do to Visceri prisoners. They said you are cruel, that you enjoy causing pain, that you kill us slowly and record it for entertainment. And you believed them?" I had no reason not to believe them. We have been at war since before I was born. Everything I know about humans comes from the Dominion, from our leaders, from the propaganda." Nate nodded slowly. "And what do you think now? Now that you've met actual humans?" Tira's skin flickered between colors. Blue, yellow, green, and something Nate did not recognize. "I do not know what to think. You have been kind to me. You fixed my wound. You gave me food and a room with a window. This is not what I expected. What did you expect?" She looked at him directly. Her black eyes were deep and filled with something that might have been hope or might have been fear. Nate could not tell the difference. "I expected to die," she said simply. "When your soldiers opened my shuttle, I was certain I would die. I had made peace with it. I had said my prayers to the old gods. I was ready, but you didn't die. No, I did not die." She paused. "Why? Why did you save me? I am your enemy. My people have killed your people. Why would you show me kindness?" It was a good question. Nate thought about it for a long moment before answering. "Because that's not who we are," he finally said. "Or at least, that's not who we want to be. War makes people do terrible things. It makes us see enemies instead of people. But I refuse to become a monster just because we're fighting one. The Dominion says humans are the monsters. I know. And humans say the Vexeri are monsters. Maybe we're both wrong. Maybe we're both just people who got caught up in something bigger than ourselves." Tira was quiet for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was barely above a whisper. "You are strange, Commander Nate Collins. Very strange." He smiled at that. "I've been told that before." 3 days passed on the Resolute. Tira's wound was healing well. She ate the food they brought her and slept in the bed with the window. She did not try to escape or cause any trouble. She simply waited, watching the stars drift past her window. Nate visited her every day. At first, their conversations were short and careful. She asked questions about the ship and the crew. He asked questions about her life before the war. Slowly, they began to understand each other. On the fourth day, Captain Laura Bennett called Nate to her ready room. Laura was a hard woman. She had been fighting the Vexery for longer than anyone else on the ship. Her husband had died in the first year of the war, killed when the Vexery destroyed a civilian transport. She had no love for the enemy. "Close the door," she said when Nate entered. He closed it and stood before her desk. She did not invite him to sit down. "I've been reading your reports about the prisoner," Laura said. Her voice was cold and flat. "You've been spending a lot of time with her." "I have." "May I ask why?" Nate chose his words carefully. "I'm trying to understand her. To understand them. We've been fighting the Vexery for 3 years, but we don't really know anything about them. Not the real them. Only what the propaganda tells us. The propaganda tells us they're killers. The propaganda tells them we're killers too. Someone is wrong. Maybe everyone is wrong." Laura leaned back in her chair and studied him with cold eyes. "Command wants the prisoner transferred to a detention facility on Station 14. They want to question her about Dominion fleet movements. She doesn't know anything about fleet movements. She's a sensor technician on a patrol vessel. The lowest rank. They don't tell people like her anything important. That's not our decision to make." Nate felt something tighten in his chest. Station 14 had a bad reputation. People whispered about what happened to prisoners there. The official reports said everything was done according to military law, but Nate had heard the stories. He had seen the look in the eyes of officers who had been stationed there. What will happen to her there? He asked. She'll be questioned. And then? Laura did not answer. She did not have to. That night, Nate went to see Tira. She was sitting by the window again, her skin glowing a soft blue. She turned when he entered, and he saw something in her eyes that he had not seen before. Understanding. "You came to tell me something," she said. "Something bad." He sat down across from her. "How did you know?" "Your face. Your body. Humans are easy to read when you know what to look for. You are upset, worried. You do not want to tell me what you came to tell me." Nate took a deep breath. "Command wants to transfer you to a detention facility. They want to question you about your fleet. I do not know anything about the fleet. I told them that. They don't care." Tira's skin shifted from blue to a deep, dark purple. Nate did not know what purple meant, but he could guess. It did not look like a happy color. "What happens at this detention facility?" she asked. "I don't know exactly, but I don't think it will be pleasant." She nodded slowly, like she had been expecting this. "I understand. I knew your kindness could not last forever. War does not allow for kindness. Tira, I'm sorry. I tried to convince them to let you stay here, but I don't have the authority. The order comes from above the captain. There's nothing I can do. There is nothing to be sorry for. You gave me 4 days of peace. 4 days without fear. That is more than I expected. More than I deserve, perhaps." Nate felt anger rising in his chest. Not at Tira, at the war, at the system. At the cold, uncaring machine that turned people into numbers and numbers into casualties. "You don't deserve any of this," he said. "None of us do. This whole war is wrong. Both sides killing each other over territory and resources, while the people at the top sit in their comfortable offices and count their profits." Tira watched him with those deep black eyes. "You sound like a rebel. Maybe I am." He stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the stars burned cold and distant. "I joined the military because I wanted to protect people. I wanted to make a difference. But all I've done is watch people die. Good people, bad people, people who never had a choice about which side they were born on. The Dominion tells us that humans love war. that you enjoy the killing. Some do. I won't lie to you about that. There are people on our side who hate your kind with every fiber of their being. But most of us are just tired. Tired of the fighting. Tired of the death. We want it to end, but no one knows how to make it end. It is the same for us, Tira said quietly. The Dominion leaders speak of glory and honor, but the common people are weary. We have lost so much. So many sons and daughters. So many families broken apart. The war grinds on, and no one remembers why it started anymore. Do you know why it started? No, I was born after it began. To me, the war has always been like the stars, like the darkness between them. It simply exists. They stood in silence for a while, looking out at the endless void of space. Somewhere out there, ships were fighting. People were dying. The war continued, as it always did. When do they come for me? Tira asked. Tomorrow morning. A transport ship will arrive at 0800 hours. Ben, this is our last night. Yes. She turned to face him fully. Her skin had shifted again, now a mix of colors that flowed and changed like a living painting. I want to thank you, Commander Nate Collins, for your kindness, for seeing me as a person and not just an enemy. I will remember you. I'll remember you too, Tira. Will you do something for me? One last thing? If I can. She took a deep breath. When they come for me tomorrow, I do not want to be afraid. I do not want to show them fear. But I am afraid. Very afraid. I have heard stories about human detention facilities. Stories that keep me awake at night. Nate felt his heart breaking. This young woman, barely more than a girl, was trying to be brave in the face of something terrible. She deserved better. They all deserve better. What can I do? He asked. When they take me away, will you be there? Will you be the last friendly face I see? I think it would help. I think I could be brave if I knew you were watching. I'll be there. I promise. She smiled then. It was a small, sad smile, but it was real. Thank you. You are a good man, Commander. Whatever else happens, please remember that. You are a good man. Nate did not sleep that night. He lay in his bunk and stared at the ceiling, thinking about Tira, thinking about the war, thinking about all the people who had died, and all the people who would die before it was over. And somewhere in the darkness of that long night, an idea began to form in his mind. A crazy idea. A dangerous idea. The kind of idea that could end his career or get him thrown in prison, but also the kind of idea that might change everything. By the time the sun rose on the ship's artificial day cycle, Nate had made his decision. He got dressed, put on his uniform, and walked to the landing bay where the transport would arrive. He was going to do something stupid. Something brave. Something that no one expected. He was going to set Tira free. The transport arrived exactly on time. It was a gray military vessel with no windows and thick armored plating. The kind of ship designed to carry prisoners. The kind of ship that people entered and never left the same way. Captain Lavra was already there, along with a squad of security officers. Nate took his place beside her and waited. You don't have to be here, Lavra said without looking at him. I promised her I would be. Promised who? Tira, the prisoner. I promised her I would be the last friendly face she sees. Lavra turned to stare at him. You've gotten attached to her. I've gotten to know her. There's a difference. No, Commander. There isn't. The transport's door opened, and two military police officers stepped out. They were large men with blank faces and cold eyes. They did not look like the kind of people who showed mercy. We're here for the Vexery prisoner, one of them said. Lavra nodded. She's being brought up now. A moment later, the door to the ship opened and Tira appeared, escorted by two of the Resolute security officers. Her hands were bound in front of her, and she walked slowly, her head held high. Her skin glowed a steady blue, but she did not shake or cry. She was keeping her promise. She was being brave. When she saw Nate, something flickered across her face. Gratitude, maybe. Or sadness. She gave him a small nod, and that was when Nate stepped forward. "Wait," he said. Everyone turned to look at him. Lavra, the military police, the security officers. "Tira, what are you doing, Commander?" Lavra asked, her voice sharp. Nate looked at Tira, at her bound hands, at her brave face, at the fear hiding behind her dark eyes, and he made his choice. "I'm not letting them take her." The landing bay went silent. Everyone stared at Nate like he had lost his mind. Maybe he had. Maybe this was the craziest thing he had ever done in his life. But he did not care. Some things were more important than following orders. "Commander Collins," Lavra said slowly, "stand down. That is a direct order. I can't do that, Captain." "You can and you will. This prisoner is being transferred according to military protocol. You have no authority to interfere." Nate turned to face her. "Military protocol says we're supposed to treat prisoners humanely. Military protocol says we follow the rules of war. But we both know what happens at Station 14. We both know that protocol is just a word they use to cover up the things they don't want people to see." The two military police officers exchanged glances. One of them reached for his weapon. "I wouldn't do that," Nate said calmly. "We're on my ship. My people. Do you really want to start something here?" The officer hesitated. Behind Nate, he could feel the resolute security team shifting, uncertain whose side they were supposed to be on. Laura stepped closer to him. Her voice dropped to a harsh whisper. "Do you have any idea what you're doing? This is mutiny. They'll court-martial you. They'll throw you in prison for the rest of your life. Maybe. Or maybe they'll finally start asking the right questions about what's really happening in this war. You're throwing away everything. Your career. Your freedom. For what? For an enemy?" Nate looked at Tira. She was watching him with wide eyes, her skin flickering through a dozen different colors. She could not believe what was happening. Neither could anyone else. "She's not my enemy," Nate said. "She's just a person. A scared young person who got caught up in something bigger than herself. Just like all of us. Just like every soldier on both sides of this war. Pretty words won't save you at your trial. I'm not trying to save myself. I'm trying to save her. And maybe, if we're lucky, I'm trying to save all of us." He walked over to Tira and began unlocking her restraints. The security officers tensed but did not move. They were waiting for Laura to give an order, but she stood frozen, watching Nate with something that might have been anger or might have been respect. "What are you doing?" Tira whispered as her hands came free. "I'm letting you go." "But why?" "I am nothing. I am no one important. Why would you risk everything for me?" Nate looked into her dark eyes. "Because when they brought you onto this ship, you expected us to kill you. You had accepted your death. All you asked was for us to make it fast. And I thought about that. I thought about what kind of world we're creating when a young woman expects nothing but cruelty from the other side." He stepped back and gestured toward the transport ship. "You can take one of our shuttles. We'll give you enough fuel to reach Vexery space. Go home, Tira. Go home and tell your people what happened here. Tell them that a human showed you mercy. Tell them that not all of us are monsters. They will not believe me. Some won't. But some might. And that's enough. That's how change starts. One person at a time. One story at a time. One act of kindness that doesn't make any sense in the middle of a war." Tira's skin had shifted to a color Nate had never seen before. Bright gold, almost glowing. She looked at him like he was something impossible. Something miraculous. "You are the strangest human I have ever met," she said. "I know. I will never forget this. I will never forget you." "Good, because I'm counting on you to spread the word. Tell everyone you meet. Tell them that humans are capable of more than just killing. Tell them that peace is possible if we're brave enough to reach for it." Lavra finally found her voice. "Commander Collins, I am ordering you to stop this right now. If that prisoner leaves this ship, you will be arrested. You will face a military tribunal. Your life as you know it will be over." Nate did not look at her. He kept his eyes on Tira. "Go, now, before I change my mind." But Tira did not move. "I cannot let you sacrifice yourself for me. This is not right. You have shown me kindness, and I will not repay it by destroying your life. My life was already heading in a direction I didn't like. Maybe this is how I get it back on track." He smiled at her. "Go home, Tira. Live. Tell your story. Make this mean something." She hesitated for one more moment. Then she did something no one expected. She reached out and touched Nate's face with one of her 4 hands. Her skin was warm, almost hot, and the golden glow seemed to spread into his own skin for just a moment. "Among my people, this gesture is reserved for family, for those we love, for those who have saved our lives." Her voice was thick with emotion. "You are now part of my family, Commander Nate Collins. Wherever I go, whatever happens to me, you will always be with me." Then she turned and walked toward the shuttle bay. Everyone watched her go. No one tried to stop her. "This is unbelievable," one of the military police officers said. "You're all witnesses. This man is committing treason." "What I see," Grace Miller said, stepping forward to stand beside Nate, "is a commanding officer making a tactical decision about a prisoner of minimal intelligence value. Nothing more." The officer stared at her. "You're covering for him?" "I'm stating the facts as I see them." Other crew members began stepping forward. Danny Park, Dr. Amy Walsh, security officers, engineers, pilots. One by one, they moved to stand with Nate. Not all of them, but enough. Enough to make a statement. Laura watched it all happen with an unreadable expression on her face. Finally, she turned to the military police officers. "Gentlemen, it seems there's been a mistake. The prisoner escaped during the transfer process. These things happen in war. I'm sure you understand. You can't be serious." "I'm completely serious." "Now, unless you want to explain to your superiors why you started a firefight on a coalition vessel over a single low-value prisoner, I suggest you get back on your transport and leave." The officers looked at each other. They looked at the crew members standing behind Nate. They looked at the weapons that everyone was suddenly, casually resting their hands on. "This isn't over," one of them said. "It never is," Lava replied. They left. The transport pulled away from the Resolute and disappeared into the darkness of space. In the shuttle bay, Tira was preparing for launch. Nate went to see her one last time. "Thank you," she said through the shuttle's communication system. "Thank you for everything. Don't thank me yet. You still have to make it home. And then you have to convince your people that everything they've been told about humans is a lie. I will try. I promise you, I will try. That's all any of us can do." The shuttle launched. Nate watched it grow smaller and smaller until it was just a point of light among the stars. Then it was gone. Grace came to stand beside him. "You know they're going to come after you, right? This won't just disappear." "I know. And you're okay with that?" Nate thought about it. He thought about his career, his future, everything he had worked for his entire life. Then he thought about Tira's face when she realized she was free. That look of wonder and disbelief and hope. "Yeah," he said. "I'm okay with it. You're either the bravest man I've ever met, or the dumbest. Maybe both." Grace laughed. It was the first real laugh Nate had heard in a long time. "Come on. The captain wants to see you. I imagine she has a lot to say. I imagine she does. They walked through the ship together. The crew members they passed nodded at Nate with something like respect in their eyes. Word had already spread about what he had done. Some thought he was a hero. Some thought he was a fool. But everyone had an opinion. Laura was waiting in her ready room. She did not look angry anymore. She looked tired. Sit down, Commander. Nate sat. Do you have any idea how much paperwork this is going to cause me? A lot, I imagine. A lot doesn't begin to cover it. I'm going to be writing reports for the next month. And when command finds out what really happened, there will be inquiries, investigations, people asking questions I don't have answers to. I'm sorry, Captain. No, you're not. She almost smiled. And maybe that's okay. Maybe we need more people who aren't sorry about doing the right thing. Does that mean you're not going to turn me in? Laura leaned back in her chair and sighed. The prisoner escaped during transfer. That's the official story. Anyone who says different is lying. Do you understand? Yes, Captain. Good. Now get out of my office. We have a patrol to finish. Nate stood and walked to the door. But before he left, he turned back. Captain? Thank you. Laura did not look up from her desk. Don't thank me, Commander. Thank whatever madness made me decide to look the other way. Now go away before I change my mind. Nate went. Behind him, alone in her office, Laura Bennett allowed herself a small smile. Maybe there was hope for humanity after all. 4 months passed. The war continued, but something had changed. It was subtle at first, so small that most people did not notice. But Nate noticed. He watched and listened and paid attention to things that others ignored. The Vexery were fighting differently. Not with less intensity, but with less hatred. Prisoners captured by human forces reported strange conversations happening among the enemy ranks. Arguments about the nature of humans. Debates about whether the propaganda was true. Whispers about a sensor technician who had been captured and released. They're talking about you, Grace said one evening in the mess hall. Well, not you specifically, but they're talking about what you did. How do you know? She slid a datapad across the table. Intelligence intercepted these communications last week. Read the highlighted parts. Nate picked up the pad and scrolled through the translated messages. His heart began to beat faster as he read. My cousin's husband served with a woman named Tira. She says the humans let her go. She says they treated her with kindness. That's impossible. The humans are monsters. Everyone knows this, but what if everyone is wrong? What if we've been lied to? Careful. The Dominion does not like such talk. The Dominion is not here. It's just us. And I'm tired of dying for people who have never seen a battlefield. Nate set down the pad. His hands were shaking slightly. This is just one conversation, he said. It's not. We've intercepted dozens like it. Hundreds, even. Tira's story is spreading through the Vexery fleet like a disease. The Dominion High Command has tried to suppress it, but they can't. It's too late. The seeds have been planted. What does Command think about all this? Grace made a face. They're not sure what to think. Some admirals want to use it as propaganda. Others think it's a Vexery trick. A few are actually talking about opening diplomatic channels for the first time since the war started. Diplomatic channels? Are you serious? As serious as I've ever been. Nate leaned back in his chair and let out a long breath. When he had released Tira, he had hoped that maybe, somehow, it would make a difference. But he had never really believed it would. He had expected to be court-martialed and forgotten. Instead, his one small act of mercy was rippling outward in ways he could never have imagined. The next morning, Captain Laura called a senior staff meeting. "We've received new orders from command," she said. Her face was impossible to read. "They're sending us to the border zone near Sector 7. "What's in Sector 7? Danny asked. "Nothing. That's the point. It's neutral space. Empty. The kind of place where two ships could meet without anyone watching." The room went very quiet. "A meeting?" Grace asked carefully. "With who?" Laura looked at Nate. "It seems a Vexery ship has requested a secret meeting with a human vessel. They specifically asked for the Resolute. They specifically asked for Commander Collins." Nate felt the blood drain from his face. "Me? Why me?" "I imagine because you're the man who started all this. You released Tira. Now someone on the Vexery side wants to talk to you directly." "It could be a trap," one of the other officers said. "It could be. But Command has decided the potential reward is worth the risk. If there's even a chance of opening communications with moderate elements in the Dominion, we have to take it." She paused. "Assuming you're willing, Commander. This isn't an order. You can refuse." Nate thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. "I'll go," he said, about 2 days later. The Resolute arrived in Sector 7. The space around them was empty except for stars and the distant glow of a nebula. They powered down to minimal systems and waited. They did not have to wait long. "Contact," Danny reported. "Single Vexery vessel, patrol class. They're hailing us." "Put it through," Lavra ordered. The main screen flickered and a Vexery face appeared. He was older than Tira, with weathered features and tired eyes. His skin glowed a calm green, but there were hints of blue at the edges. He was nervous. "Earth vessel Resolute. This is Captain Vark of the Dominion ship Clarity. I am here to speak with Commander Nate Collins." Lavra looked at Nate and nodded. He stepped forward. "I'm Collins." "You asked for me?" Vorik studied him through the screen. "You are younger than I expected. The stories made you sound like a legend." "What stories?" "The stories of the human who showed mercy. The human who released a Vexery prisoner and asked nothing in return. Tira's story." Vorik's expression shifted. "She is my niece. My sister's daughter. When I heard what you did for her, I did not believe it. I thought it must be propaganda. A lie designed to confuse us. But now? Now I am here. Now I want to know the truth." He leaned closer to the screen. "Why did you release her? What did you hope to gain?" Nate considered his answer carefully. "I hope to prove that humans are capable of something other than killing. I hope to show your people that we're not the monsters your leaders say we are. And what are you, if not monsters? We're people. Flawed, complicated, sometimes terrible people who are also capable of great kindness. Just like your species, I imagine." Vorik was silent for a long moment. His skin shifted through several colors before settling back to green. "I have served in this war for 15 years, he finally said. "I have killed more humans than I can count. I have watched my friends die in battles that accomplished nothing. I have followed orders that I knew were wrong because I believed there was no alternative. And now? Now I am not so sure." Tira's story has spread far and wide. The Dominion has tried to silence her, but she escaped to a colony world where she speaks openly about her experience. Many people are listening. Many people are asking questions. "Questions are good," Nate said. "Questions are how things change." "Yes, but questions are also dangerous. The Dominion does not tolerate dissent. Those who question too loudly tend to disappear." Vorik's voice hardened. "I am taking a great risk by being here. If the High Command discovers this meeting, my career will be over. My life might be over. Then why are you here?" "Because I am tired. Because my people are tired. This war has gone on too long and cost too much. Both sides have lost so many lives that the original reasons for fighting have been forgotten. We kill each other because we have always killed each other. Because we do not know how to do anything else. Nate felt something stirring in his chest. Hope. Real, genuine hope for the first time in years. What if we could learn? He asked. What if we could find a different way? That is what I want to discuss. Vorik straightened in his chair. There are others like me. Officers who are tired of the killing. Families who have lost too many children. Politicians who see no end to the destruction. We are not many, but we are growing. And we want to talk. Talk about what? About everything. About the war and how to end it. About our peoples and how they might learn to live together. About the future, if there is to be a future. Vorik's eyes met Nate's through the screen. We want peace, Commander Collins. Or at least, we want to explore the possibility of peace. Will you help us? Nate looked at Laura. She gave him a small nod. Yes, he said, turning back to the screen. Yes, I'll help you. For the next 6 hours, they talked. Not about military strategies or territorial disputes, but about hopes and fears. About families and futures. About the weight of war and the dream of something better. Vorik told Nate about his life before he became a soldier. About his wife and children back home on the Vexery homeworld. About the small moments of joy that got him through the dark times. Nate told Vorik about Earth. About the green forests and blue oceans. About the cities full of life and the countryside full of peace. About what humanity had been before the war and what they might become if the killing ever stopped. They found that they had more in common than either had expected. They were both soldiers who had seen too much death. They were both fathers who wanted their children to grow up in a better world. They were both tired of hate and hungry for hope. When the meeting finally ended, both men were exhausted, but something had changed between them. Something important. We will meet again, Vorik said. I will bring others who share our vision. You should do the same. If we are going to change the course of this war, we cannot do it alone. I understand. Be careful, Vorik. I don't want to hear that you've disappeared. The Vexery captain smiled. It was a strange expression on his alien face, but Nate recognized it immediately. And you be careful as well, Commander Collins. You have made yourself a target for those who profit from this war. They will not let you continue unpunished. I'll take that risk. I know you will. That is why I came to you. That is why Tira's story gave us hope. He paused. You showed her mercy when you had every reason to be cruel. You proved that humans are more than what we believed. Now we have a chance to prove that Vexery are more than what you believed. I'm counting on it. The connection closed. The clarity turned and jumped to faster than light speed. Disappearing into the darkness. Laura came to stand beside Nate. Well, Commander, it seems you've started something. I hope it's something good. So do I. She was quiet for a moment. You know, when you first released that prisoner, I thought you were a fool. I thought you were throwing away everything for nothing. And now? Now, I'm not so sure. Maybe the biggest changes start with the smallest acts. Maybe hope is more powerful than hate. She shook her head. Or maybe we're all fools, dreaming of peace while the universe burns around us. If our 8 months had passed since Nate released Tira from the Resolute. 8 months of secret meetings, careful negotiations, and growing hope. The movement that had started with one act of mercy had grown into something much larger. Something that could not be ignored. On the Vexery side, Tira had become a symbol. She traveled from colony to colony, telling her story to anyone who would listen. Thousands gathered to hear about the human who had shown her kindness. Millions watched recordings of her speeches. The Dominion High Command declared her a traitor and ordered her arrest, but by then it was too late. Her message had taken root in the hearts of too many people. On the human side, Nate had become something he never expected to be, a diplomat. He met regularly with Vorik and other Vexery officers who wanted peace. They exchanged information, built trust, and slowly created the foundation for something that had seemed impossible just a year ago. Now, standing on the observation deck of a neutral space station, Nate watched as something miraculous unfolded before him. Two fleets hung in space outside the station's massive windows. On one side, human ships. On the other, Vexery vessels. They were not fighting. They were not firing weapons or launching fighters. They were simply waiting. Inside the station, representatives from both sides were meeting for the first time in public. Not in secret, not in hidden corners of empty space, but openly, with the whole galaxy watching. "I can hardly believe it," Grace said, standing beside him. Her eyes were wet with tears she was trying not to shed. "After everything we've been through, after all the death and destruction, we're actually here." "We're here," Nate agreed. "But we're not done yet. The negotiations could still fail. There are people on both sides who want this to fail. I know. But look at them, Nate. Look at the ships out there. Humans and Vexery sharing the same space without killing each other. That's something. That's more than we had a year ago." She was right. It was something. A small miracle in a universe that had seemed fresh out of miracles. The door behind them opened and Captain Laura walked in. She was wearing her dress uniform, all medals and ribbons and polished buttons. She looked uncomfortable in the formal clothes, but there was a light in her eyes that Nate had never seen before. "The Vexery delegation is asking for you," she said to Nate. Specifically, one member of their delegation, Tira? "Tira," Lavra smiled. "She arrived an hour ago. She's been asking about you ever since she stepped off her shuttle." Nate's heart beat faster. He had not seen Tira since that day on the Resolute when he had set her free. He had heard her voice in recorded messages. He had read her speeches, but he had not looked into her eyes or felt the warmth of her skin against his. "Where is she?" "Conference room 7. The guards have been told to let you through." He did not run through the station's corridors, but it was a close thing. The hallways were crowded with diplomats, military officers, and journalists from a dozen different species. Everyone wanted to witness this historic moment. Everyone wanted to be part of history. The guards at Conference Room 7 nodded and stepped aside. Nate took a deep breath, straightened his uniform, and walked in. She was standing by the window, looking out at the stars. Her skin glowed with that bright gold color he remembered from their last meeting. When she turned and saw him, the gold intensified until it was almost blinding. "Commander Collins," she said. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were not. "Or I suppose I should call you Ambassador Collins now." "Nate is fine." "It's good to see you, Tira." "It is good to see you too." "Very good." She walked toward him slowly, as if afraid he might disappear if she moved too fast. "I have thought about you every day since you released me. Every day, I wondered if I would ever see you again." "I wondered the same thing." She stopped in front of him, close enough to touch. Her 4 hands were clasped in front of her, trembling slightly. "I brought you something," she said. "A gift from my people." She reached into her robe and pulled out a small crystal pendant on a silver chain. The crystal glowed with the same golden light as her skin. "This is a memory stone," she explained. "Among my people, we give these to those who have changed our lives. The stone holds a fragment of our light, our essence. When you wear it, I will always be with you." Nate took the pendant carefully. It was warm in his hand, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. "Thank you," he said. "I don't know what to say." "You do not need to say anything. You have already said everything that matters. You said it when you released me from my bonds. You said it when you looked at me and saw a person instead of an enemy." She reached up and touched his face, just as she had done all those months ago. You gave me back my faith in the universe, Nate Collins. You showed me that kindness exists even in the darkest places. How can I ever repay such a gift? You already have. Look outside, Tira. Look at what your words have done. 2 species that were killing each other are now sitting at the same table, talking about peace. That's because of you. Because you had the courage to tell your story. It is because of us, she corrected. You and me and all the others who believed that things could be different. We did this together. The door opened again and Vorik entered, followed by several other Vexery officials. Behind them came Laura, Grace, and a handful of human diplomats. The negotiations are about to begin, Vorik announced. Both sides have agreed to the initial framework. We will discuss a ceasefire first, then move on to territorial boundaries and prisoner exchanges. And after that? Nate asked. After that, we talk about the future. About trade and cooperation. About building something new from the ashes of war. Vorik smiled his strange alien smile. It will not be easy. There are many who still hate, many who want revenge. But we have proven something today. We have proven that change is possible. The negotiations lasted for 3 weeks. There were arguments and disagreements, moments when everything seemed about to fall apart. Some people walked out. Others threatened violence. But in the end, something remarkable happened. On the 22nd day, representatives from both sides signed a treaty. Not a final peace agreement, but a ceasefire. A promise to stop killing while they worked towards something better. When the signing was complete, the station erupted in celebration. Humans in Vexery who had been enemies just weeks before were now shaking hands and sharing drinks. Old soldiers who had spent their lives fighting each other found that they had more in common than they ever realized. Nate stood apart from the celebration, watching from a quiet corner. He felt a presence beside him and turned to find Tira there. You are not celebrating, she observed. I'm thinking. About what? About how strange life is. A year ago, I was a soldier fighting a war I didn't understand. Now I'm a diplomat working for peace. All because of one decision. One moment when I chose mercy over protocol. You chose to see me as a person, Tira said. That is not such a small thing. In a universe full of fear and hatred, choosing to see the humanity in your enemy is perhaps the bravest thing anyone can do. It didn't feel brave at the time. It just felt right. Perhaps that is what true bravery is. Doing the right thing without thinking about the consequences. She moved closer to him. Whatever happens next, Nate Collins, I want you to know that I am grateful. For what you did for me. For what you did for my people. For what you did for everyone. We're not done yet. There's still a long road ahead. Yes, but we have taken the first steps together. That is what matters. Outside the window, the 2 fleets still hung in space, side by side. They were no longer enemies. Not yet friends, perhaps, but no longer enemies. That was enough for now. That was more than enough. Nate thought about the young Vexery woman who had knelt before him all those months ago, waiting for death. He thought about her small voice asking him to make it fast. She had expected cruelty and found kindness instead. She had expected death and found life. And from that single moment of mercy, this new future had been born. Thank you, Tira, he said softly. For what? For giving me the chance to be better than I thought I could be. She took his hand in one of hers. Her skin was warm against his, glowing with golden light. Thank you for taking the risk, she replied. The risk that no one expected. The risk that changed everything. They stood together in the quiet corner, 2 people from different worlds, watching the stars shine outside the window. Behind them, the celebration continued. Before them, the future stretched out like an endless ocean of possibilities. It would not be easy. There would be setbacks and failures, old hatreds that refused to die, and new problems that no one had anticipated. Peace was not a destination but a journey, and the road would be long and difficult. But they had taken the first step. They had proven that it was possible. And sometimes Nate realized that was all that mattered. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness could ripple outward until it changed the whole universe. All it took was one person willing to take a risk that no one expected. The end.